Hey guys, Logan with Enduro Engineering, here to show you how to install the radiator braces on the current KTM and Husqvarna motorcycles. We offer two different protections for the radiators on these bikes, the radiator guards and the radiator braces. They're going to serve two different functions. They don't go together, but in this one we're going to show you how to install the radiator braces. Okay, step number one is going to be removing the seat and the radiator shroud. So you've got an 8mm bolt here up front on the seat. Remove that. Okay, and then on the radiator shroud you've got two 6mm head bolts here. So pull both of those out, as well as a Torx T27 to pull that mounting bolt out too. Then lastly, on the radiator shrouds you got the two 8mm head bolts here on the front of the radiator. So go ahead and take 8mm wrench, pull out both of those, and then you can pull the radiator shroud right off. Alright, now we're going to take out the radiator mounting bolts here. They're an 8mm. Just go ahead and take T-handle or socket, pull both of those out. You're not going to reuse these, so you can set them off to the side. Okay, now we're going to get this tank up and out of the way to give us a little bit more room to get the radiator braces around the radiators. So right here in the center of the tank, you've got one 8mm head bolt that you can pull out, and then that way you can just take the tank and lift it straight up and then just rest it out of the way. That way you've got plenty of room behind the radiator. So now we've got the tank out of the way, we're going to take the inner bracket for the radiator brace. We're working on the left side, so you're going to take the one that has a part number of 1023 and then L1. L is for the left side and 1 is the inner bracket. So go ahead and just pull the radiator here off of the post, the mounting post on the frame, to give you space between you, the radiator and the frame, that you can slide this up in and just get it rested behind the radiator. Then you can press the radiator back onto the pin or the post so it just rests there. So you're going to have the longer L bracket out here facing the bottom, facing outward, and the shorter at the top. That way you know that it's going to be on there the correct way. Okay, now we're going to take the outer bracket here, which on the left side you're going to see is a 1023 L3. If you're on the right side, it's going to be the R3. Since we're on the left, we're going to take the left-sided one, and then two of the provided of the smallest button head bolts. These are 6x8, and then you're just going to thread basically the two bracket pieces together. And for right now, you're just going to want to get them started and not tighten them down quite yet. Just get both of them started by hand. Okay, this next step you're going to want to do off the bike is going to be the easiest way. So take one of the front bars here with the Enduro Engineering logo on it, and you're going to take the middle bracket here, which is going to be labeled 1023R or L2, and since we're on the left side here, it's going to be the L2. And then take one of the provided button head bolts, one of the longer ones, which is a 6x16, and then you can thread this together off the bike. So thread it most of the way on. If you want to, you can make sure that the Enduro Engineering logo is facing forward, so that way it'll show. And then take a 4mm Allen and then just tighten this down. Okay, now that we got that front bar already installed on this bracket, you're going to take it and install. You've got the two smaller holes here, which you're going to take the medium-sized button head bolts, which are the 6x10, and thread them through, and then there's already threaded inserts or threaded holes there on that inner bracket. So you're just going to line it up and then tighten that down with a 4mm into that inner bracket. Okay, now we're going to fasten the front bar here to the outer bracket, and this is why we left these back bolts loose, so that way we can maneuver this and get the holes to line up. So now you're going to take two of the 6x16, which are the longer button head bolts, and you're going to thread that through the outer mount and into that front bar. This one you're going to want to just do finger tight as well for now until we get the bottom bar in. Then we'll go back through and tighten everything up. Okay, now we've got the bottom bar that we're going to install here on the bottom. So you just slide it right in. You might have to pull forward on these louver pieces here just to slide that in behind. But get that lined up with the bottom holes. Take two more of the provided 6x16 button head bolts, which are the longer ones, and then get both the inner and the outer one started by hand, and then right after that, that's where we'll go through and get everything tightened up. Okay, lastly, we're just going to go through and tighten everything up. So I'm going to start out with the bars here. So you got a 4mm bolt that you're going to tighten. You might not be able to get a T-handle into this inner one, so I'll take a small little 4mm Allen wrench and tighten that one up. And the rest I can use a good T-handle for. So just going to go through and make sure that those are tight, as well as going to the two on the back and tightening those as well. Alright, and lastly for this radiator, now we're just going to mount it back up to the frame. So take two of the provided 6x16 hex head bolts here, and then take an 8mm and just tighten those right up. Okay, once you've finished on one side of one radiator, you're just going to repeat all the same steps on the opposite side. So once you have both sides done, now you can put everything back. So you can take your tank and mount it back up. Just make sure you get it over that post, so then you can take the bolt and reinstall it here, and then we're going to reinstall the radiator shrouds. Okay, so we got our tank back on, got the radiator shroud on, you got the two mounting bolts up here, the plastic screws, and then the seat mount bolt. In the front, you've got the two radiator shroud mounting bolts there that go into the radiator louvers. Those you're going to reuse the same bolts that you pulled out earlier in the process, so the same OEM bolts that were pulled out, you're just going to reinstall those. Alright, lastly is going to just be replacing your seat. So slide that on backwards there. And then don't forget to put your seat bolt back in. Okay, and that's how you install the radiator braces on the new KTM and Husqvarna motorcycles. If you have any questions, give us a call at 517-393-2421 or visit our website at enduroeng.com.